Hey guys, how's it going? Like Butter here. Welcome to another Division build video. I've been getting a lot of requests from my stream and in the comments of my videos, seeing that people, really want to get the details of the build that I'm running. Since I haven't done a build video in an extremely long time, I thought I would just go ahead and do one of these videos, even though that this build that I'm using right now is more of a temporary build that I'm going to use until I get something a little bit better with some of the new classified sets. I'm going to be doing some theory crafting and whatnot. But high-end builds are still very much viable, especially with the increase on gloves. With the assault rifle damage, it combos with skull gloves incredibly good. And so we're just going to go over it, and I'm just going to throw this build out there for those of you guys who want to make it. It does only require 2 exotics, 3 if you include the bullfrog weapon, which used to be the FAMAS, obviously. The golden rhino pistol is just kind of a throwaway. You can use any pistol you want. I barely ever use my pistol. I just use the golden rhino because it looks super awesome. And there are some alternatives to this build as well, except for the skull gloves. The skull gloves are 100% necessary to make a high-end build work. Even something like Savage wouldn't be good enough to make this build viable, in my opinion. So let's go over it. I'll talk about alternatives, whether you want to make it for PvP or PvE. This build can be used for both, but I will show you the changes that you want to make if you want to make it for PvP. So currently, I've been using this in PvE. I've been enjoying a lot of the new PvE content, including like Resistance and the new Underground and just the open world in general. I believe the incursions are resetting tonight, so that's more stuff for me to do. And now that div tech is so important, I definitely want to get on my alternate characters. If you don't have multiple characters, it's definitely beneficial to do that so that you can do the incursions and the legendary missions once a week on multiple characters and get as many exotic caches as you can, because those exotic caches are more valuable now than they've ever been, considering they give you like 25 to like 30 div tech, something crazy like that, which is almost enough for an entire reroll. So technically, if you do your missions on multiple characters, you can get something around like 10 optimizes just out of the caches alone. So it's crazy. But anyways, so let's go over this, and I'll tell you guys why I use certain things. So I'm using the bullfrog. This is a really good weapon. It's the highest rate of fire assault rifle in the game. And if any of you guys have been playing, the Division for a long time, you know that the highest rate of fire weapons are usually the weapons that do the best, because RPGs, at least when it comes to shooters, are all about burning down your enemy before they kill you, right? The sustainability has kind of gone out the window in this game back when, they neutered the armor, which was good. Don't get me wrong, the mitigation was just insane, but I think it's much better to just burn down your opponent now rather than it is to try to outlive them. So I'm using a red dot sight to get some of that extra crit damage. Now you can run some crit chance here if you would like. The reason I haven't been running crit chance here is just because I think I need to get a little bit better of a rugged mini reflex sight, or I think a 5.52 hollow sight also has crit chance. But the reason I'm not using it is because I don't have one that doesn't have accuracy or stability on it. You don't want accuracy or stability on your FAMAS whatsoever, because it's going to take away some of the damage from uncomplicated. So we'll talk about that in a second. But if you did want to use a rugged mini reflex sight here and get a little bit more accuracy, that's cool. The accuracy is not really a problem on the FAMAS. It's more of a stability issue, and we're going to talk about how to kind of counteract that in a second. So yeah, I decided to just use the pro red dot for now to get some extra crit damage. We're going to try to find crit chance in other places. Same thing here. I am using the SR7 suppressor, which is the alternate, the reduced threat version of the loud vent break. Of course, you can use the loud vent break if you want, but considering this is a DPS build, you're going to want the least amount of aggro from NPCs possible, but this is entirely up to you. You're definitely going to want crit chance, headshot damage, and crit damage here on this. Crit damage is obviously the main stat. So also small grip. You can use any small grip. It doesn't matter if it's red or not. It's literally cosmetic. And you want to make sure, like I said, you have no accuracy or stability on this. I have a blueprint for this that they sell. They sell it every couple of weeks. There's not that many attachment blueprints that they sell. So small grip is definitely one of those that you want to pick up if they're in the vendor. And this has reload speed and optimal range, which is good, just pretty much because it's increasing the reload speed a little bit, which the FAMAS has very quick reload speeds. It's very good. So getting that 5% is definitely buffing that speed quite a bit, considering how fast it is. Optimal range obviously is good. It's not going to make much of a difference, but it's still better than losing damage by having accuracy or stability. And then our extended mag, obviously we have reload speed, rate of fire, and mag size. Now you can change this around if you want. It might be better just to do, I always go over this with my stream and whatnot. This is entirely up to you whether you want to run reload speed and rate of fire, which it's probably not worth it. It really probably isn't worth it, because if you're considering you're getting 49 more rounds per minute, so if you're shooting for like a second or 2 seconds, you're only going to shoot like an extra 1 or 2 bullets. So to some people you may think that'd be worth it, but you can also go like I don't know, I think I had the wrong mag on here. No, maybe not, because that rate of fire is so high. But if you can get a really good extended mag that has almost max rate of fire, I think 5.4, I think this might be max. I'm not entirely sure. But if you decide that you just want to go mag size, crit damage, crit chance, you can do that. That's totally up to you. I think both options are pretty viable, but we'll just leave that on there for now. And for my secondary, I am using a custom M44. I always use a long range weapon if I'm using something like a bullfrog or an SMG or a lightweight M4, just like weapons that are more useful close to medium range. I like having those long range weapons to be able to either finish somebody off or to do a large amount of damage if they're out of range of where my bullfrog is going to do the majority of its damage. So just to go over quickly what's on my M44, obviously you want headshot damage on everything you can get, because the M44 is based off getting headshots. It has very high base damage, which means you're going to be getting crazy damage if you hit headshots. So this has a VX1 scope on it, which has the main stat as headshot damage, crit chance, and crit damage. I can get an extra 0.5% here on crit chance if I get a better VX1 scope. And you can also get an extra % here on headshot damage as well. I think it goes up to 18.5%. A mega rifle suppressor, same thing. I think I have a better one here. I actually love doing these videos because I catch myself like with equipping worse attachments than what I actually have. But yeah, there you go. That's a little bit better one. So 8.5% headshot damage, crit chance, crit damage. Vertical grip. Now this is something I changed to recently. I used to use a small grip on a sniper rifle, but considering you're shooting such a low amount of rounds with your sniper, and also the fact that your crit chance is just genuinely going to be low, now you might want to put or you definitely want to put a small grip if you're using like a Deadeye build or a build with really high crit chance. Not sure why you would be doing that. You're mostly trying to stack for headshot damage. But the vertical grip here increases my range incredibly. 46.5% optimal range is it's taking half of my range, which is insanely long on the M44. I believe it's got the most range in the game. I could be wrong. And then it's taking half and putting that on top of the range. It's crazy how much 46% optimal range is. So be sure to have that vertical grip on your sniper. Stability and crit damage, those are kind of just throwaway stats. Those are totally up to you. And then also we have an extended mag here with crit chance and crit damage. And yeah, that thing absolutely melts. I forgot to show you the talents on my bullfrog. Responsive, competent, uncomplicated. This is totally like, you know, up to you what talents you want to run. There's a couple of different combos you can do. If you're doing PvE and you have enough stamina to get destructive active, that might be a cool thing for you to do. Or if you're using, I don't know, maybe if you're using like an alpha bridge build and there's no requirements to enable those, that's one thing. But destructive is really good for PvE. It's no longer that good for PvP, but I like running responsive and competent because most of my burst damage is going to come after I use my pulse. So if we're within 10 meters, we're going to get a huge damage boost on top of competent and on top of uncomplicated. You just absolutely melt up close when you pop your pulse. And then on the custom M44, this is PvE weapon, but I have brutal, prepared, and destructive, but it also destroys in PvP. But if you're looking for more of a, you know, just a PvP weapon, you might want to go with something instead of destructive. You might want like competent or something like that. Anyways, let's go over the gear now. I'm using Barrett's chest piece because I play a lot of solo. This is good if you're playing solo because most likely if you are playing solo, you're going to be using the overdose. And if you're using overdose, you really don't need vigorous. The only time you want to use vigorous is if you're playing with a full group and you have a healer in your group and you're confident that you're going to be constantly getting healed by your teammates. You know, you have communication and whatnot. Then yes, vigorous would be better in that situation. But since I play a lot of solo, I like running a Barrett's bulletproof vest. It's still a very good, very good chest piece here. I like running health and skill haste. Of course, if you're going PvE only, this is where you can kind of go either way. You can do enemy armor damage here if you'd like. Enemy armor damage is super strong in PvE, so that's entirely up to you. But I like running health and skill haste. Health isn't as you know, necessary as a major attribute as it was last patch, because stamina used to be so garbage that you wanted to kind of run health on everything. Now, since stamina is a little bit more viable, you can just run a little bit of stamina and, you know, put something else there. Like I could switch maybe 2 electronics mods to stamina mods, and then I could switch out health for that enemy armor damage, so you're not too squishy, but you also get that boost in damage in PvE. So I have skill haste mods. You pretty much want skill haste mods on everything. I think I have 1 crit chance mod on one of my pieces of gear, but that's, like I said, that's entirely optional. I think it's the best just to get skill. I think 3% skill haste gives you the most value out of any of the things that you can get on your mods. So for my mask, there's a couple of options here. Same situation. Refreshed, which is incredibly strong. All healing is improved by 30% when in the last segment of health. That includes if your teammates heal you. That includes if you use self-heal, if you use a med kit, if you, you know, use a immunizer and you blow it up. Any type of healing in that last segment of health is going to give you a 30% more heal, and it's insanely strong, especially when you combine it with something like combat medic, where you know, you're going to be healing for a little bit more, and you're also going to be getting, or did I say combat medic? My bad, I meant critical save. You're going to be getting a little bit more of that resistance and whatnot, and it works really well with any type of build where you have decent skill power. Now, if your skill power is complete poop, it's probably not going to matter. But since I have like 182,000 skill power, it's getting buffed a little bit by Barrett's. Obviously, it's pretty good. So we got a skill haste mod here. Like I said, skill haste pretty much on everything. And we're going to go over the high end and exotic stuff first. And then for chest piece, by the way, if you really are feeling feeling jumpy or feeling frisky, you can go for reckless. I wouldn't recommend it. You're gonna get melted. But I do have a couple ideas for implementing reckless into high-end builds again that I've been toying with a little bit on stream. We'll talk about that a little more later. Anyways, so for my backpack, I'm using Specialized, which is the best talent. It gives you 200% firearms and stamina, and that gets converted into skill power. I'm using stability on my backpack, which I just recently started testing out. It's not that bad on the FAMAS because the FAMAS has a lot of recoil and it's very hard to control, even on PC. So especially if you're watching this and you're someone who likes to play on console, I can only imagine how incredibly difficult it is controlling the FAMAS. So this 16% stability really does help, but it's optional. If you feel like you can control the recoil, then you might want to do health or skill power here. Both are viable options. If you feel like you're a little bit too squishy and you want to get your health up a little bit, go health. And then if you feel like your skill power is a little low, go skill power. You can get like 13k skill power. And we're using electronics mods, first aid, self-heal on all our performance mods, of course, because we want to boost that self-heal as much as we possibly can, because that's going to be our survivability. This is Skull MC gloves. You need these. You absolutely need these. Gives you 16% extra damage when no set bonuses are active, which exactly is what a high-end build does. There's no set bonuses. And so you want assault rifle damage, crit chance on these, 100%. Now, if you really don't think assault rifle damage is worth running, you can do like skill haste. You can even do skill haste for crit damage if you really wanted to, but I highly recommend if you're doing a DPS build, 12% assault rifle damage, considering you're going to be getting so many damage buffs, is very helpful. So this is entirely up to you whether you want to run assault rifle damage or skill haste. I used to run skill haste, but this patch in 1.8 I run assault rifle damage. And so these two pieces, you may be a little bit confused. As long as you don't have two of the same gear set, you will not mess up the skull bonus. Now, the reason I'm using classified is because classifieds have higher base stats than high ends. High ends are technically not as high tier as the classifieds are. So what I do is I just use two random classifieds that have good stats here. As long as they're not the same, you can use them. And it's cool because classifieds, you can roll two talents, so you can usually get them about as min-max as possible without, using a ton of div tech. So I'm just using reclaimer braces here. If you're playing in PvE, you want damage to elites here, along with your mask. I forgot to mention that, I apologize, but minor attributes on your mask, you want damage to elites if you're doing like endgame PvE content. But if you're going to be playing PvP, guys, put short bow championship knee pads on if you have them. They are the only high-end / exotic knee pad that is worth using in the game, unless you're doing like XP farming. Then you want to use I can't even remember what it is. Here it is, accomplish. So rewards are tripled, so that's where you start like going for field proficiency caches. But so for PvP, you want short bows. For PvE, you want to just use high end, because like the extra speed on the grenade fuses isn't really going to help you in PvE. You don't use grenades that often anyways. They do like almost 0 damage to the NPCs, and most of the time they're just going to stand there and get hit by it anyways. So I think it's much better to get the extra damage boost from firearms. Like the firearms roll is a lot higher here than it would be. And yeah, if you're not doing PvE, obviously, I mean, you can have damage to elites, but I would go for like bleed resist or something, especially with next week, the fact that Predmark's going to be coming out, 6-piece Predmark, so you're going to want as much bleed resist as you can, even though I don't think it will really help you. And then, yeah, like I said, skill haste on the holster. You can run crit chance here if you feel like you need a little more damage. I like running skill haste because I think you get the most value out of it, and your skills come off cooldown a lot quicker and whatnot. All right, so that's basically the build. I know I went into a lot of detail. The reason I went into a lot of detail with this video is because there's a lot of new returning players coming into the game. They want to know the build I'm using. They want to learn. They want to enjoy the game. They want to know what's good. And so I wanted to show this and share this with you guys. If you have any ideas for new builds and whatnot, just let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try to make as many build videos as I can. So hopefully, you guys enjoyed this video. I did not go over my abilities, which I'll just go over really quickly. You want to do Pulse, Tactical Scanner, because that's going to give you more crit damage, which you're going to be getting a decent amount of crit chance from that 17.1%. On top of the fact that you have like 19-ish already. And then you want to use, in solo, you want to use Overdose, but if you're using Vigorous and you're playing with a group, you probably want to use Booster Shot. I've even been playing using Defib a little bit, just because it's so strong and you have a teammate that goes down. Being able to revive them with just popping a heal is incredibly OP. So yeah, anyways guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to drop the video a like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will talk to you next time. Take care, everybody.